Hello and welcome to another episode of Educational. This is Roy.
This is Terry.
So we're a podcast that we try to present a lot of different spins on the aging process, things for the aging. Not only, I'll speak for myself, I'm going through the aging process. Terry, she is timeless, hasn't aged in the last 25 years.
He's sucking up over there.
But also, we deal with our parents. They have different issues. Terry, unfortunately, lost her father to Alzheimer's a few years back. So, but we're getting into that point that our parents need a little bit more help and trying to have some guidance before we get into crisis situations, try to avert that. And also we have guests. So typically for our new listeners, Tuesdays we release an episode where we have a guest. Could be a professional that deals with aging. It could be somebody that's gone through the process or going through something specific. And then on Thursdays, our episodes are more specifically for our journey, some things we're seeing. And then also we've been heavily focused on the dementia, Alzheimer's, just bringing some new information as it's unfolding. But anyway, today we've got an awesome guest, Jan. I'm going to let Terry introduce you and then we'll get to it.
Jan Malloch is a fitness and lifestyle transformation coach for professional women over 50 who totally transformed her life at 62. She lost weight and qualified as a personal trainer specializing in helping older women to be fitter. And also she worked at a desk job and was very sedentary most of the time. So, Jan, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to this point.
Right. Well, actually, to be honest, I've had a number of careers in my life. So I'm just going to go and let's run through some of these because, you know, it's been quite a chasm, of changes and all the rest of it. So anyway, when I went to university and then I went into the civil service. So basically my job, I worked in the Department of Employment and I was just interviewing people all day, so that was great. It was great fun. But again, obviously I'm just sitting there at my office all day. In my 30s, I became a mother. So I was away from the vocational job scene for a long time. Went back in 1995 only to discover that suddenly computers had invaded the workplace.
I hear you.
So, and I had not got a clue. So I went back again as just an interviewer. I didn't have to worry about working, with a computer and like that. And then they sent me on a Word course and an Excel course on how to use a computer, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
Oh, wow.
And to cut a very long story short, I ended up becoming a computer engineer, right?
Oh, wow.
So that was quite a transformation because what had happened was I'd started building these computers in the house, and then I thought, whoa, light bulb went on. This is going to be my career. This is what I want, So I actually started qualifying. I got various qualifications in IT. But the interesting thing is I was a woman, age 42, trying to get into IT. And you know what? When the training people were saying to me, oh, you mean you want to learn how to type? I said, right. No. I said, no, I want to be a computer engineer. And I tell you, it took a lot of me trying to sell myself before they would even accept me on the course. I could throw money at them, but that wasn't going to change their mind. They just wanted to make sure that I was really genuinely wanting to do this.
Oh,
so anyway, at the end of the day, I did become a Microsoft certified systems engineer. And I went into a local company that is pretty well the largest employer in our area. And I thought, look, if I want to get into IT, what to do is join that company, and then at least I can look at their notice boards and apply for any jobs. So I literally went in just as a customer service agent. Absolutely hated. I hate working on the phone and selling things and all the rest of it. But I thought, you know what? If I want to do this, if I want to get a career in IT, this is the only way I'm going to do it. And I tell you, within 2 months, there was a vacancy up on the board for a trainee networks analyst. And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to apply for this. But of course, as you started reading down the job description and whatnot, it kept saying, oh, well, you need a degree in computing. You need to have worked as a desktop support engineer for at least 2 years. And basically, let's face it, reading in between the lines, you had to be a male about 23 or 24,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I thought, you know what? Nothing to lose. Let me just apply. So anyway, at the end of the day, 10 other people had applied, all guys, all 23, 24
Mhm.
with computer degrees and desktop experience, but it was me who got the job.
Oh,
And I remember, and I read the job acceptance at least 30 times because I just could not believe it. I thought, wow, I'm 42, a female, and I've just got a man's job. Yeah, brilliant, you know. Um, but the thing was, I asked the manager afterwards, I said, so why did you take me and not any of the other guys? He said, well, do you know, this is a trainee job. Anybody can learn the techie stuff, but you have to be good with your customers. That's why we've
Right.
taken you on. Yeah.
oh,
So it meant then when I was out on the floor, the customer service agent would say, do you know what? I can't connect to the network. At least I could empathize with them and say, oh, I know exactly what you mean. You need to be able to, you know, to speak to customers, you need to be able to see a screen and all the rest of it. So that was great. So I did that for about 10 years. And then I woke up one morning. I've always been into personal development, things like that. And I woke up one morning, this was back in 2008, and I looked across at my bookcase and we had Tony Robbins sort of staring at me. And I thought, I want to be like Tony Robbins. So
uh-huh.
that meant finding out about neuro linguistic programming, finding out about hypnotherapy, learning how to be a public speaker. So literally within a day, I resigned my job, handed in my month's notice, cashed in my pension, and basically studied to be a hypnotherapist and NLP. Then, of course, as the years have progressed, I thought, you know what, that's great. I've got my mind adjusted. I'm helping people with their mind, but my physical fitness has to also come first. So I came a lot more sort of physically fit and whatnot. And I realized there was a huge, huge gap in the market because there weren't personal trainers who were older who could, you know, really empathize and whatnot with older men and women for that matter. Because you know, you'll find older people will go to a personal, you know, trainer and they'll be in their 20s, maybe their 30s,
Yes.
and they don't understand that as you get older, you begin to lose your balance. Obviously, your muscles aren't as good as they used to be, your bones, you're worried about falling and things like that. Whereas I was able to actually empathize and I knew exactly what that felt like. So that was quite a transition from certainly being a computer engineer to now not fixing machines, but trying to fix people.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That makes me tired just thinking about everything that you
Really?
have done. Yes, because I'm aging. I am aging, no matter how timeless Roy says I am. I mean, oh my gosh, what a lovely, incredible transformation you have. And
Yeah.
learning all of that learning, I'm sure helps keep you young too.
Oh, of course. Yes. I mean, I feel that everybody's got to continually learn. You know, every day is a school day. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
So you mainly work with, I guess, men and women, but mostly women, probably over 50. Is that correct?
Definitely women over
Okay.
50.
Okay.
Yeah. Because obviously, again, I can relate to women over 50.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. You're both gonna, you know, you're all gonna lose your muscle and you're gonna lose bone and all the rest of it. But being a female, obviously, I can equate
Right.
there, and certainly doing any one-to-one coaching is definitely better. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's because I've had trainers before, and like you said, they're usually younger and good shape, and so being older and out of shape, they want to put you. Well, I guess what I find is that sometimes not just trainers, but sometimes, people that go through processes, they have one process that they know and they try to
Yeah.
apply it to everybody,
Yeah.
whether you're 20 and in good shape or, some other age that we won't mention and not as good of shape. And so I think that's a really value that you bring to the table is that, since you've kind of been through this part of that process is you can work with people of this age to start
Yeah.
where they're at or where they need to be and not feel like that. And then I'm sure that they are more comfortable with you. It's always nice
Oh,
to work
most
with somebody
certainly.
that
Yeah.
looks like yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I mean, so many personal trainers are what I call, the female version are the Baywatch babes. They're all
Yes.
very slim and slender, and they've got their ponytails and all the rest of it. And I think I cannot relate to that woman at all.
Right.
So I need somebody to be able to relate to. But the interesting thing is, I mean, I have my own personal trainer, but I just could not find anybody who was a female, and certainly nobody in my sort of age bracket.
Right.
So I ended up, and I still work with a guy from Spain, age 25, a power lifter, but we have built up a rapport,
Right,
so
yeah.
that works, plus the fact he's worked with various age groups. So it's good. He knows that what I would be capable of, and he'll give me challenges, but not make it impossible. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, because it's important to it's important to have that comfort that we look alike, but I think it's also that connection and the trust that you would have it that somebody has been through this, and you
Yeah.
can kind of build up that rapport that you're not going to ask me to do something that's crazy,
Yeah.
that I'm going to
Yes.
just fail at. Is that you can help me, and so I'm sure that. Because that's one thing we always talk about when you, especially when you go select a new trainer or a new program, really whatever you're doing, if they don't ask you your individual questions, if they're trying to push you into one plan fits all, a red flag, but you also need to be comfortable with them. It's like there's multiple providers, and for you to get the very most out of it, especially in this realm, is you have to have somebody that you're very comfortable with. And that's not,
Oh, exactly.
it's not asking too much, I don't think, is that we, sometimes we think, oh, well, we just don't have any choices or we don't want to look around, but it's great to find somebody that you're comfortable with.
Yes, exactly.
Bedside manner's huge.
Yeah.
Everywhere. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, because I had a guy that I trained with for a while that he was a nice guy. He came to the house, and he was one of these that, if I was on the phone talking and I couldn't get right to the door, man, he would just start banging on the door. He'd come to the window. He's like, I know you're in there. Open this door. He never let me slide, but he would ask me to do some challenging things. But you know what? I had that trust in him that he knew when to quit, and he knew when to tell me to slow down just a little
He
bit.
had your
So,
best
yeah.
interest at heart.
So, so what are you finding that when the clients that come to you, they have just been sedentary, they haven't done much, or are they making a switch to, because of your maturity in the space? But are these like
They're
maybe
very, very polite. Yes.
yeah. Are these like housewives that have not done much, or maybe they had an office job and have said, or I guess maybe the better way to say it, are they beginners, or are they people who are kind of in the midst of this journey?
Most women who come to me are definitely, their main goal is to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, and they are often desk bound. They do have desk jobs,
Right.
that sort of thing. And they are looking, because they're looking more at the long term. They're saying, do you know what? I need to do something now because of the future. I
Right.
don't know what I'm going to be like in the future.
Yeah.
And really, it's a case of me basically assuring them that what we do is I will give them a personalized plan which will meet their abilities and their goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, I mean, I certainly don't have one of these cookie cutter programs where I'm expecting everybody to be able to do 1,000 jumping jacks in the next week. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, and you yourself, you started at 62, correct? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you were able to lose some weight. What was that process like for you, and what was your turning point?
Well, the thing was with me, funnily enough, I'd always sort of, I mean, up until in my 30s, I had always been a proper decent weight, if you like. But as the years have gone on, and before you know it, you put on weight without
Yes.
even realizing it. So basically, what I did was it was just a case of let's start eating more healthily. That was it. And then once I got, and the big difference was actually once I started with a personal trainer, where I was doing consistently, exercise all the time and whatnot, and I was getting more physically fit. I was building up muscle, which in turn was then building up my metabolism, which in turn was helping me burn, more calories and whatnot. And the thing was, once I started this physical activity, I felt so much more confident in myself. And I think that's what made such a difference. But of course, now, because I've gone ahead to qualify as a personal trainer, I now have this label of being a personal trainer. So this is my identity now. So therefore, it's no difficulty keeping my weight down because I know this is my identity and this is who I am.
That's awesome.
So when somebody comes to you brand new, what are some things that you do, I guess, to kind of feel them out to see where they're at in this journey, or do you have kind of like some I don't want to call it a test, but do you have some kind of
Like a
things that you
question.
do just to kind of
Yeah.
see, what kind of endurance that they may have, if they can lift weights, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everyone actually filled, well, I mean, obviously they've got their medical forms to fill out, first of all, just to make sure, that they are fit enough. Obviously, if they have any reservations, then I request that they go and see their doctor and all the rest of it, because we need the okay that they can do physical exercise.
Yeah.
But I've also got a lifestyle questionnaire where they fill out, what sort of things do they eat? What are their weaknesses when it comes to what they eat and whatnot?
Right.
I want to know if they are actually already physically active, or is it a case of you haven't done any activity since you were at school or whatever. I then have 4 very, very basic assessment tests just to sort of see, can they stand up and sit down? How many times can they do that, from a chair in 30 seconds, that sort of thing. So it just gives me a much better idea of what, where they're at the moment,
Yeah.
And then I want to know what they actually want to achieve at the end of the day. So that is when I then create their own workout plans. So whether they're one-to-one with me or if it's online, it's all individualized for them.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I'm sure the pandemic probably boosted up all of your virtual training programs.
Oh,
How was
definitely,
that
yes.
challenge? How'd you meet that challenge?
Well, it's, funnily enough, Terry, when I went into personal training, my business plan, if you like, was to be working in a gym for 2 years. And then I was going to go into the online world, because I suppose with my technical sort of background and whatnot, I much prefer, the online sort of side of things. But as we know, 2 months in of working in a gym, and then suddenly the pandemic hit, gym was shut. That was it. So
Yeah.
I had to really bring forward all my plans. And so I was actually sort of already ready for this. And to be
Oh, wow.
honest, the pandemic, it's been bad for some people, but for others, it's actually worked out really quite well for them. And
Yeah.
I feel it's worked out quite well for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of, we talk
That's
about
good.
that a lot. We sometimes have that survivor's guilt because it's really been good for us. It's made us slow down. We do a lot more together, a lot more around the house, and there's been so many people impacted that have been sick, have lost loved ones, and lost incomes and things like that. Definitely, our hearts go out to them. But you're right. There's been a definite line with winners and losers, and we count ourselves as blessed that. Nobody that we are really. I think Terry's had a few high school friends, and I had one. He was very sick, but nobody that's lost their. Well, I think Terry may have had a couple that lost their lives, but just nobody really close in our family, which has been good. But that you mentioned this earlier when this is kind of a good segue into this is that I think this is what got us more motivated to create this show. And when we started talking about this is that we want to age well. And I don't think we give this enough thought. When you're in your 20s and 30s, we feel like we're bulletproof and we can drink, smoke, eat, do, whatever we want to do. And we're not really thinking about when you're 70, 80. Well, unfortunately, at my time in my life, the 70s and 80s are a lot closer. So,
the corner.
So now, it makes you just think for a minute that I don't want to be a burden. And so if I go into that age at poor health, then it's only going to go downhill from there. I'm not going to be able
definitely.
to. So do you work with a lot of people that, that's kind of on their, not only getting healthy for today, but kind of thinking about that aging process, maybe having an aging parent that they've seen struggle?
I would say so. The thing is that, obviously, Roy and Terry, we live in this world at the moment where everybody wants things right now.
Right.
And they don't tend to look at the future. And this is what I try and encourage people to do. Say, right, okay, you feel you're okay now. But what are you going to be like in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, whatever? Now, let's think of just the simple things. Are you going to be able to put your coat on without needing somebody to help you? I mean, these are just daily activities that, you think, I'll be able to do this forever. But there's so many people who can't. Yeah. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Just
so we really have to zero in on what we're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, oh my God, just thinking about the buttoning part of it, little things like that just all add up. And of course, the more we age, the more important it becomes. You don't really realize that until it's like, oh, I got a pain right here I didn't have before when I was younger.
Yeah.
And even though we're talking about, it would be better if people, the earlier they start, the better off it is for sure, and try to keep that momentum and build good habits, because that's another bad thing at this age. Some of these bad habits are ingrained and they're much, much harder to break.
Yes.
But, talking about later in life, or, there are a lot of things like the chair aerobics, and I thought it was interesting that you use that as a kind of one of your assessments, is how many times you can get up, because there are people who, there's going to be people who, if they're aging and not in great health, maybe 2 or 3 times might be kind of their limit.
That's right.
But the great thing is talk to us about things that we can do, or programs that you could design for people in that situation.
Right. Well, obviously the thing is that the important thing is you're always moving. That's it. The thing is, you can be sitting watching TV, but you can still sit and sort of shrug your shoulders and move your shoulders about and things like that. You don't have to go and run a marathon, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, every sort of even if you set your fancy smartwatch or something like that, every 15 minutes to get up out of your seat and just walk around the room, that aids your mobility. That's the thing. The thing is that once you're over 50, there are so many different stages that people can be at. We know that, there can be weightlifters at 60 or 70.
Right.
But there can be people at 60 or 70 who literally find it difficult even just to stand up.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. So that's why it's so important. But generally, just do what you can. Move and keep moving. That's the important thing. We know that the government, for instance, outlines that we should be doing 150 minutes of exercise a week. All right. And it doesn't matter whether you're 18, 80, or 108. It's still 150 minutes a week. Right. And, you know, a lot of people might think, wow, that's a lot. That's 2.5 hours a week. Well, let's break this down. Half an hour a day.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be half an hour all in a oneer.
Right.
You can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes. And you know what? The benefits that you're going to derive from that, think about that. You know, if I spend half an hour a day being a bit more mobile, that means, or it could mean in 10, 20 years' time, I'm not going to be sitting in a corner in a care home, not being able to move.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And if I'm not wrong, isn't there growing evidence that doing it 10 minutes 3 times a day may provide you a little bit more benefit than trying to do it 30 minutes? And the other thing about that too, I feel like if I do something smaller segments through the day, I'm more likely to accomplish it. Where if I'm waiting, for 6 o'clock at night and thinking I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, when 6 o'clock rolls around and then something happened and you're running late, or it's like, I had a bad day, I can't even get out. It's like you can always think of all these excuses.
Well, the thing is, Roy, that there is so much research going on, about sport and exercise and whatnot, and they're coming out with new findings all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, they would say, you have to do 10,000 steps a day to stay healthy. But they come out with research now that if you do 10 minutes of a brisk walk, that equates to that.
Right.
So it's not, if you're short of time, that is not an excuse.
Yeah.
You can achieve a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah. I've told this story a couple of times. I'm sure the audience is going to be like, oh my God, we don't want to hear this again. But I had the fancy watch that belongs with the phone. I'm not going to call their name out, but the thing quit syncing and had some issues. And so I went back to a Fitbit. I'd had it previous to the fancy watch, and then I didn't really like the fancy watch. I didn't use all the stuff. But anyway, this has a little reminder of every hour to get 250 steps in, which has been great for me. I don't do it as much as I should, but I really work on, trying to get up, and I can walk through the house. I don't have to get out. It's extremely hot right now where we're at. So, during the day when you're all clean and you don't want to get out and break the sweat and then have to come back and sit down and work. But, just walking around the house inside, I can achieve that 250 steps.
Exactly.
Very simple, very simple. So, kind of like what I say is that now if I can get to the gym at 5 or 6 o'clock, I've already got like 2,500 steps banked up, from walking. So, I'm like halfway to, where I try to, 10,000 is a little bit much for me. Most days I try to do, 5 or 6, and I'm very happy with that. So anyway, just those little efforts through the day really push me, to being halfway to my goal before I even have to start.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we know to
But
get
the
out of.
thing is,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, as Roy was saying, just little things can make all the difference.
Right.
And they'll tell you, when you're parking your car, just park a little bit further away from the store and all that. And you know what? It actually does add up.
Yeah.
And, smartwatches, whatever they say about them, but the best way of progress is to be able to monitor yourself, your own progress. That's what it is. And if you can see the numbers going up, and you can say, wow, compared to last week, look how much I've achieved.
Yeah.
So you have that sense of achievement, and you get more confident. And the more you achieve, the more you want to achieve.
Right.
Yeah, it's all about those smaller goals and making the better habits long term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It helps if you can see the results of what you're doing. It makes a big difference.
And we live in an awesome time because, when I was growing up, when you were 60, 65, some of people were literally chair bound and
Putting
they
you out
just,
to pasture.
yeah, there just wasn't much they could do. But now, we see people living into their 80s and 90s who are very active, very healthy. And we've got, the internet is a nice thing, but we have a lot of affordable instruments that we can use at home, depending on what you want to accomplish. But, one thing I've got that I don't use as much as I should, but I got one. It's the band, not a band, but a strap, like a TX something or other.
Is it T? Yeah,
Yeah,
TRX.
TRX. Anyway, I just have it hanging over here. And so, sometimes in between calls, I just get up, go do a little bit.
They are brilliant. Yes, absolutely amazing.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even use them. You can get down on the floor and do a lot with your legs with them as well. But they're, it's a versatile thing to have around. I don't have to put out a lot of effort, but I can at least use that, I guess, my body weight resistance and, get some upper arm stuff in during the day. So again, I think this is an awesome time that we live in. So much at our disposal to help us out if we just take advantage of that.
Well, this is it. We have to grasp the opportunity. We have to sort of think, hold on, these things are available.
Right.
So we want to take advantage of these things.
Exactly. Yeah, and so do you have any good shining examples of some people, you don't have to call their name, of course, but that some people that have come to you in really poor shape that you've been able to, work with to, maybe help their balance or their mobility a lot more?
Oh, loads. I mean, the thing is that it's funny because when they come to me, first of all, we'll do their assessment and all that, and they really can't achieve very much. And often they feel they probably won't be able to achieve very much. Yeah. So a lot of it is mindset. That's the thing. It's a case of persuading them. Yes, you might not be able to see your potential, but I can see your potential.
Right.
And I mean, for instance, if there was a woman I was working with, and I said, I laughed about jumping jacks, but there's nothing wrong with an 80-year-old doing jumping jacks. They are perfectly capable of doing them if they put their mind to it. That's the thing. Yeah. And, she just, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that, But now, I mean, I can get her doing those as a regular part of her workout. And she says, do you know what? It's the jumping jacks that actually make me really feel great after my session with you. So it's funny how your mind often tells you, I cannot do this. And sometimes you need somebody else to say, oh, yes, you can.
You really do. You need that and somebody to help you quell your inner critic, because that right there is just, oh.
Yeah. You can't discount having the accountability partner, and that's kind of like the guy that I trained with, even though he was good at designing things for me to do. And the other thing I say is that I wouldn't pay, my personal opinion is I wouldn't pay somebody to stand in a gym and count reps for me on a machine, and I see that a lot, and it kind of makes me snicker. But like my guy, he would, he designed all these things. He had he had like a half ball with a platform, and you could stand on the ball sometimes, or you turned it over, do stuff. But, he was always like trying to work on the core as well as the extremities. But the accountability is what I think that he provided me the most, is that, you had to show up, and then also that encouragement, like the days when I'd be like, ugh, I can't take it, I'm done. He'd be like, no, come on, you're making good progress. Look, then he could remind you where you were, 2-3 months ago, and how much progress that, even though we don't feel it. So I think that's a great part of that.
I mean, that's actually one thing. I mean, I have my 15-week online program for women, and so we focus on mindset, losing weight, and, being more physically active. Now, what I'll do is I will give them workout programs, and they'll watch videos to do it. Okay, I'm not there to count up to 10 or whatever, but that isn't really what a personal trainer does. But what I do is I offer the accountability at the end of the week, where we talk on Zoom or whatever, and I can see, look, how are you progressing? Have you got any problems? Do you feel we have to adjust the program or something like that? So what they'll sort of think, oh, I better do these 2 workouts because Jan's going to check up on me on Sunday,
Yeah, when Jan calls me, I have to put my cigarette out and hide my beer behind my camera so she doesn't catch
Don't
me.
let her see. She's calling. Mom's checking in. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute, too, the mindset, because, as I said in the intro, when we first started this, it was a lot about what we ate and our diet and trying to get this dialed in, and exercise. My opinion is, you can lose weight without the exercise, but the exercise is what makes me feel good and feel healthy. When I'm feeling good and feeling healthy, I tend to eat better. It's like when I'm not moving, then it's easier to eat bad. So, but anyway, so we've kind of made that progression, but now we've really gotten into this mindset because we want to make sustainable changes. We want to make incremental changes that we can, not like make these big sweeping things like that are harder to deal with because there's such big changes, but just the little bitty things every day add up. But we've got to have the right mindset for that. And so I'm sure that's a big part of what you can provide as well as, that encouragement, but also helping people change that maybe negative. I don't know. What do you see
Well, I
with
mean,
that?
the thing is, I mean, obviously I'll speak to a lot of people and they'll say, oh, the diet I was on, it doesn't work because, I mean, it worked at the time, but, when I came off it, then I just put the weight back on.
Right.
And I'll just tell them that's because you have not changed your actual habits.
Right.
That's what has to change. If you, rather than setting long-term goals, let's set daily goals,
Yes.
and say, look, okay, well, today I'm going to make sure I have 5 portions of vegetables or whatever. And it's little process goals that make all the difference. And even as you were saying, Roy, once you start exercising, you feel so much better. And then you sort of think, well, let's start eating better then.
Yeah.
So it's just the very small changes that can lead to huge changes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for every age. That
Yeah,
goes across
yeah.
the board, right?
Well, and I was just going to ask, do you feel that is it harder to teach an old dog new tricks, or is it, if people show up and they've got the right mindset, is it pretty easy to engage and get them to make some changes?
Well, this is it. If there are probably a lot of people out there who are just far too set in their ways. They'll say, no, sorry, I'm 65, I'm 70, I'm too old to do this, that, and the next thing.
Yeah.
And okay, you can try and sort of, help them to see the benefits and all that. But
Right.
there are some who are just totally stubborn. They are not going to do anything, Whereas there are a lot of others who are very open to suggestions for any help that they can get. And these are really the people I work with. There's no point in trying to, deal with somebody who just doesn't want to change it, because you yourself have to want to change.
Yeah.
And, I also make sure that when I take on new clients, that it's they who want to change. I'm not really wanting anybody who said, oh, well, my doctor told me I have to lose weight.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not really going to work because they need themselves to know that they want to lose weight.
Well, and they have different issues. I mean, some of them have the type 2 diabetes. Some of them have just different issues that they need to work on as well. So do you approach it? I guess you would approach it, and it's just customizable. Yeah.
Oh, totally. That's the thing. As I say, I mean, what I could do, I suppose, in theory, I could just churn out courses, $37 courses, and it would be totally cookie cutter, and people either they liked it or they didn't.
Right.
But you know what? I wouldn't make any transformations.
Right.
They wouldn't change. They would just be getting more of the same information they've always had.
Yeah.
So it's all about working with people as individuals and basically adjusting it to what they can do and what they need to do. That's the thing, because I mean, obviously you have people who, I mean, I actually have a few people who, because they are overweight, they, their knees are really sore,
Right.
So what you have to do is you have to adjust the exercise program, to suit them.
Yeah, I like that. That's good to hear because, like I said earlier, we always recommend that, if somebody that you're thinking about working with, if they've like, I've got a plan that's worked for, other people, here it is. It's a red flag. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a red flag for me is I want to make sure that you have that engagement. You're asking me my questions like, do you even like to run? Because I don't mind walking, don't mind lifting weights, but I don't want to run. And, my motto for most of my life has been, I played sports where I had to, but as an adult, I'm like, when I drive down the road and I see a guy running that's smiling, I may think about taking it up. But most of them are usually in agony.
What's he doing? What does he know we don't know?
But yeah, I think it's so important to find, and especially as we age, because I don't want to generalize, but I'm going to say 20s, 30s, maybe into your 40s, it's probably pretty generic with some outliers. But when you get to the 50s, 60s, and 70s bunch, everybody is so different, not only in where they're at, but also the ailments, afflictions, things that have happened to them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could have the neurological issues, you could have, the movement and Parkinson's or anything like. Do you have any people that you work with that have certain issues that they're wanting to deal with or head off, or any specific ones?
Well, I mean, certainly a lot of my clients have already been diagnosed as diabetic. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so obviously but again, you're really just dealing with trying to get their weight down, where they're eating, far more healthily and things like this. I mean, that's one thing I don't do. I don't have a diet plan as such. I mean, nobody follows a particular diet plan because it's all about changing your habits. That's the thing,
Yeah.
So there's no point in saying to people they have to eat chicken all day if they don't like chicken. I mean, that's
Right.
stupid, So they really have to, what I try and get them more into the way of having a better idea of the calorific sort of content of foods and things like that.
Right.
And also get acquainted with portion sizes. Because as you know, in the 70s, I'm talking about in the 1970s, portion sizes were very, very much smaller than they are now.
They're huge.
I mean, it used to be you'd go off to a restaurant and you get this huge, huge portion and think, oh, this is a treat because I'm out at a restaurant. But now these are just the normal amounts of food that people are eating at home.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that, to me, that's the very first easy step on the nutritional side is if you just start reading labels. Because there are things that you've just grown up eating that you don't realize, how, like for me being a diabetic, how many carbs are in that. But then also strategically eating, like I try to be at 40 to 60 carbs a day is kind of where my limit is, and which is fine. But I can't eat 60 for dinner, and then go to bed. You have to, it gets complicated because then you can eat some with the fiber that releases slower, and there's all these little things. But my thing is just start by reading labels and seeing what's hidden. The other thing that I found is salt, and this gets back to getting away from processed foods, because whenever you're reading something on a bag, it's probably been processed and it's probably going to have a lot of salt in it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you think on it, there's so much so-called food nowadays that really isn't food.
No.
The thing is that during the processing thing, they've lost all their vitamins, their minerals, all their goodness.
Right.
And then, of course, these manufacturers then have to put all these vitamins back in. And then on the marketing side, then they go and say, with added vitamins and all the rest of it. And everybody thinks, oh, this is healthy. I'm going to buy this. Yes.
That's so true. Oh, my gosh.
Well, Jan, is there anything else, any other thoughts you want to leave us with before we wrap this up?
I think really it's a case of, I don't think it matters what age you are. You can make major changes in your life, and they don't have to be huge, huge changes. Just small ones can make all the difference, So as well as eating healthily, moving, try and keep your mind active all the time. Look at different things. I mean, little hobbies that you can maybe start up or whatever, and there's always opportunities to learn more stuff. And those are the three things: healthy eating, exercise, and keeping your mind active.
There's a good book. It's been a while since it came out. It's called The Slight Edge, and there's some other books that are based on the same principle. But what this guy talks about is that these little bitty things that people do that we don't see that become successful, and it kind of translates into these smaller changes, but consistently doing it every day.
Yeah.
He was like, the baseball player, in practice you hit so many baseballs or they get so many cuts at it, but he said the guy that goes to the batting cage after practice and hits like 500 balls every day, if he went one day and hit 500 extra balls, you're not going to see much change in where he was.
Yeah.
But if he goes and hits 500 balls every day for 6 months, for a year, now all of a sudden you start seeing that incremental change because of all this, the smaller steps that he has been taking that are extra.
Yes.
Kind of the same thing as like they said, you can look at it two ways. Like if you are healthy and you go out and eat a Big Mac, probably not going to hurt you that much. Now, if you go out and start eating one every day, then after some period of time, you're going to see the effect, and vice versa. If you eat a Big Mac every day and you quit one day, you're not going to see much change if you just, if you quit one day and keep eating. So, it's just those little bitty things that we can do daily and continue.
I think this is the thing about daily, because people will often ask, how long does it change a habit? How long does it take to change a habit? And they come away with various sort of ideas and whatnot. And for instance, the 21 days, they reckon you can change your habit, but you're not going to change a habit if you only do it once in that 21 days.
Right, exactly.
It's not the amount of time; it's the number of times you do it. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Right. All right. Yeah. Well, that's good advice, Jan. We certainly appreciate it. Is there a tool or a habit? Is there something that you do in your daily life that really adds a lot of value?
I think really when I get up in the morning, you want to look on the positive side. That's basically because, you make your own reality, during the day, and really think, right, what am I going to achieve today? Can just be a small thing like I'm going to clean out a drawer in my kitchen or something like that, but achieve something, and you feel that you've achieved something and you want to achieve more, and it makes you feel great. Yeah.
Oh, I love being able to tick off from my to-do list. I love being able to mark through that line, because so many times I'm just like going on and on and on, just running around in circles, and I'm like, day's ended. What's happened? What did I do?
Exactly.
I was busy.
All right, Jan. Well, tell people, who do you like to work with? How can you help them? And of course, how can they reach out and get a hold of you?
Okay. Certainly I love to work with women over the age of 50. I mean, I'm saying 50. If you're 40 and you're desperately wanting to get better, by all means, let me know, But certainly, it's certainly the older women that I tend to deal with. And they are professional women who are probably sitting at a desk job a lot of the time, or they've retired from having quite a high stressful job and whatnot. These are definitely the people I want to work with. And as I say, my programs are all individualized for everybody. So your best bet probably is to get a hold, see my website, and that is janmalloch.com. That is where you're going to see me. Okay. And again, if you want to go onto Google, just type in Jan Malloch and you'll see loads of me around.
Okay. And Malloch is Malloch. For those who can't see.
Yeah, we will include all that in the show notes, but that is worth mentioning, the spelling there. All right. Well, good enough. Well, thanks a lot. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. Of course, I am your host, Roy. I'm sorry. That's going to do it for another. Oh, my gosh. Educational. I'm your host, Roy. No, you're good. You're good. Oh, my gosh. Losing my mind. You can find us, of course, at www.educational.com. We're on all the major podcast platforms. Google, Stitcher, Spotify, and we also on all the major social media platforms. We spend most of our time probably on Instagram, so please go check us out, and a video of this interview will go up on YouTube when the episode goes live. So again, thank you for your time. Take care of yourself, and age healthy.
Thanks, Jan.